Sophia glided through her mansion like a queen, Louboutins clicking against marble floors that never showed footprints thanks to Rosa, the housekeeper who'd spent hours polishing them. From the kitchen came delicious aromas, Chef Antoine preparing lunch that Sophia would barely touch before complaining about the seasoning. "These orchids look pathetic," she snapped, jabbing a manicured finger toward the fresh arrangement. "Replace them. And tell the pool boy the water temperature is still wrong." Downstairs, a delivery arrived, her third designer handbag this week. She didn't even open the box, simply adding it to her collection of unexamined purchases. When Victor returned from his investment firm that evening, exhaustion lined his face. He loosened his tie, watching his wife scroll through her phone, ignoring the dinner he'd rushed home for. "The children's hospital called," he mentioned. "You missed another board meeting." "Those meetings are deadly dull," Sophia replied without looking up. "All budgets and sad stories." Victor stared at the stranger his vibrant, ambitious wife had become, a perfectly polished shell of consumption without purpose or passion. Something would have to change. $70,000. Victor held up the credit card statement, disbelief etched on his features. "In 1 month, Sophia." She examined her fresh manicure, boredom evident. "Since when do we pinch pennies? Your last deal cleared 8 figures." "This isn't about money," Victor paced in their expansive living room. "It's about who you've become. Remember when we met? You had plans for a foundation to help disadvantaged women entrepreneurs. You wanted to make a difference." "And I discovered I hate paperwork and boring meetings," Sophia retorted. "My job is maintaining our social standing. Those charity galas don't host themselves. You haven't hosted anything meaningful in years. Just showing off to the same shallow people while spending money you didn't earn." Sophia's eyes flashed dangerously. "I didn't realize my marriage came with employment requirements. Next you'll want a time card." "I want my partner back, the woman with dreams beyond her next shopping spree." "Well, she grew up," Sophia grabbed her purse. "I have a dinner reservation with friends. Don't wait up." Victor watched her leave, a decision crystallizing in his mind. Drastic situations require drastic solutions, and he just thought of the most drastic one of all. The doorbell echoed through the mansion 3 weeks later. Sophia answered, irritated that her housekeeper was nowhere to be found. 2 solemn police officers stood on her doorstep. "Mrs. Reeves?" "I'm Officer Morales," the female officer said gently. "May we come in?" Something in their expressions made Sophia's champagne-fueled haze evaporate instantly. "What's happened?" "There's been an accident involving your husband's vehicle on the highway." Sophia's knees weakened. "Is he hurt?" "Which hospital?" Officer Morales guided her to sit down. "The car went over the cliff edge. It caught fire before emergency services arrived. I'm very sorry, but your husband didn't survive." The crystal flute slipped from Sophia's fingers, shattering on the imported marble, a sound that barely registered through her shock. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Victor has meetings all day." The officer produced a plastic evidence bag containing a charred wallet and wedding ring she instantly recognized. Reality crashed down on Sophia like a physical blow. Her perfectly controlled world splintered as primal sobs tore from her throat. The magnitude of her loss, not just emotional but practical, began to dawn as she realized she had no idea how to navigate life without Victor handling everything of substance. "What do you mean, frozen?" Sophia stared at the bank manager, her voice rising with each word. Mr. Winters adjusted his glasses uncomfortably. "Mrs. Reeves, your husband had significant outstanding loans. Until probate completes, we can't release funds. The life insurance policy was used as collateral for his latest venture. But that could take months. What am I supposed to live on?" "Perhaps family could help during this transition." Outside, Sophia fumbled with her phone. "Caroline, it's me. I need to borrow money for funeral expenses." After 6 increasingly desperate calls to so-called friends, her phone buzzed with a text. "So sorry, darling. I'm in Europe until next month." That evening, Sophia faced a stack of papers, staff salaries, mortuary deposit, hospital bills from Victor's brief emergency treatment. She had no idea which expenses were most urgent or how to manage with her suddenly limited resources. The $15,000 in their joint checking account, an amount she might once have spent on a weekend shopping trip, now represented her entire accessible fortune. Victor's assets were tied up in business holdings she couldn't touch. For the first time in years, Sophia felt something beyond entitlement or boredom. She felt genuine fear. This is absurd. You can't just take my home. Sophia clutched the eviction notice, facing the unsympathetic bank representative and sheriff's deputy. Mrs. Reeves, the mortgage has been in default for 2 months. Your husband's agreement specified immediate property transfer upon default. You have 48 hours to vacate. 48 hours? Where am I supposed to go? The representative's expression softened slightly. Do you have family nearby? Sophia's social circle had evaporated at the first sign of financial trouble. Her designer friends sent thoughts and prayers texts but wouldn't answer calls about money. Her parents lived abroad. That afternoon, as movers cataloged artwork and electronics to cover outstanding debts, Sophia sat among the ruins of her life. She was permitted only personal effects not purchased with business funds, a distinction she couldn't possibly determine alone. The moving company supervisor approached with a clipboard in hand. Mrs. Reeves, we need you to verify these items before removal. Staring at the list of possessions being repossessed, Sophia reached for her phone and scrolled to a contact she hadn't called in years. Anna Lane. Her voice cracked. I need help. If you're staying here, you're contributing, Elaine declared, placing a laundry basket on the guest bed in her modest 2-bedroom apartment. Jason needs picking up from soccer practice at 4, and dinner needs preparation by 6. I'm still grieving, Sophia protested weakly. Elaine's expression softened momentarily. Yes, and I'm sorry for your loss. But grief doesn't wash dishes or pay bills. Life continues whether we want it to or not. The first week in her aunt's home shocked Sophia's system. Her hands, previously only used for scrolling social media and presenting credit cards, now cracked from dishwater and budget laundry detergent. Her designer clothes hung useless in a crowded closet as she adopted practical, washable fabrics. 14-year-old Jason, her cousin's son being raised by Elaine, initially regarded her with open suspicion. Are you really my cousin? Mom said you were too fancy to visit us. The comment stung with truth. Sophia had indeed considered herself above these modest surroundings. Now she depended on them for survival. I was wrong about a lot of things, she admitted quietly, surprising herself with the confession. Maybe you can help me do better. $200 for all of it. Sophia stared at the consignment shop owner in disbelief, looking at the pile of designer clothes on the counter. Designer items lose value quickly, especially last season's styles, the woman explained, not unkindly. Swallowing her pride, Sophia nodded. Combined with her jewelry sales, she now had enough to pursue an idea that had formed while helping at her aunt's community center. Sophia's Corner Cafe opened in a tiny storefront near the community college, just coffee, sandwiches, and homemade pastries Elaine had taught her to prepare. She discovered an unexpected talent for baking, finding strange satisfaction in creating something with her own hands. Each morning at 5:30 a.m., Sophia now rose without complaint to prep for the day. Her first customers were construction workers from the site across the street, who initially smirked at her obvious inexperience but soon warmed to her improving coffee and determination. By the second month, she had regular customers who actually knew her name, not because of her designer clothes or perfect highlights, but because she remembered their orders and asked about their families. It was a strange new feeling to be valued for something she did rather than what she owned. The small memorial service was delayed for months due to financial complications. Finally, with her modest business showing promise, Sophia could afford to hold a simple ceremony at the local community center. As she placed a single rose on the ceremonial urn, a murmur rose from the gathered mourners. Sophia turned and froze. Victor walked down the center aisle, very much alive. What is this? Ghost! Ghost! He is a ghost, she whispered, shock rendering her almost unable to speak. I'm not a ghost. I'm very much alive. I'm sorry for the deception, Victor said, his voice carrying in the stunned silence. There was no accident. No fire. You let me think you were dead. The shock was quickly giving way to rage. You needed to see what life is without a safety net, he explained. You needed to find your strength again, Sophia. I knew it was still there, buried under years of privilege and entitlement. The room erupted in confused whispers as Sophia stared at her husband, the man whose death she had mourned, whose absence had forced her complete transformation. In his eyes, she saw not cruelty but desperate hope. "You had no right," she whispered, then turned and walked away, leaving Victor standing alone before a funeral for a death that never happened. "How could you?" Sophia hurled a mug against the wall of Elaine's apartment, narrowly missing Victor's head. Her aunt had tactfully taken Jason out for dinner, leaving them alone for this inevitable confrontation. "I tried everything else," Victor replied, his calm only fueling her rage. "Conversations, counseling suggestions, even that ultimatum about the charity work. Nothing got through. So you decided to put me through hell? Do you have any idea what I've been through?" "I watched from a distance," he admitted. "I saw you lose everything, then build something new from nothing. I saw the woman I fell in love with re-emerge, someone with determination, compassion, creativity." Sophia collapsed onto the sofa, anger temporarily exhausted. "You could have just divorced me. I didn't want to lose you. I wanted you to find yourself again." The silence stretched between them, charged with hurt and betrayal but also unspoken understanding. "I own a cafe now," she finally said, a hint of pride breaking through her anger. "It's small, but it's mine. I created it. I know. Your banana bread has quite the local reputation." Despite herself, Sophia felt a smile threatening. "Did you try it?" "3 times. Best I've ever had." 6 months later, Sophia's Corner Cafe had expanded into the adjacent storefront. A chalkboard sign advertised community workshops alongside daily specials. Victor entered, bell chiming above the door. "The business loan paperwork is approved," he said, placing a folder on the counter. Sophia nodded, professional in her interactions with the man who was technically still her husband. Their relationship remained complicated, healing but forever altered by his deception. "I've been thinking," she said, carefully arranging fresh pastries in the display case. "Maybe we should talk about what happens next." "With the cafe?" "With us." She met his eyes directly. "What you did was unforgivable. But these past months without you, the real months, not the ones based on lies, I've missed you." Victor's expression softened. "I've missed you too. The real you." "I'm not moving back to that mansion," she warned. "That life was beautiful but hollow." "I sold it," he admitted. "Started a foundation with the proceeds. It provides microloans to small business owners like you." Sophia smiled, recognizing the foundation she'd once dreamed of creating. "Maybe we could run it together. As equals this time." The woman who had once measured her worth in designer labels now found value in building something meaningful, and perhaps in rebuilding something broken with honesty and equal footing. What lesson have you learned from the story? Drop your comments in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with loved ones. See you in the next video.